Hello gal pals, welcome to a new reading vlog. It is still February, so I still anticipate I'm going to be continuing on with my reading for Black History Month. I only have 2 books left on my TBR for that, which are Becoming by Michelle Obama, which I'm still waiting for my library to give me on audiobook, so that may or may not happen this month. I'm still pretty far down the line. And I also have to read Americana by Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie, which is a 600-page tome. I just read 3 books back to back in like 2 days in my last reading vlog, and I kind of wanted a little break from reading such hard-hitting nonfiction, really intense books about racism. I reached for a book that I recently got from a publisher, which is called The Accidental Beauty Queen by Terry Wilson. This book is about a elementary school librarian whose twin sister is this pageant queen. She has this new pageant coming up in Florida where she's going to compete for the title that their mother had won before she passed away from cancer. The main character of this book is very much like a nerdy, awkward, doesn't think she's beautiful character, while her sister is gorgeous and everyone knows her for pageants. The pageant queen is there to compete in that pageant, and her sister comes along because Harry Potter World is there and she wants a free hotel when she goes to Harry Potter World for 5 days. The night before the pageant begins, the twin who's competing in the pageant ends up having an allergic reaction to something and her face swells massively. So instead of just going home and forfeiting this competition and not being able to carry out their mother's legacy, her twin sister is guilted into competing in the pageant for her because they're identical. And so it follows the shenanigans of her having to go from someone who doesn't wear makeup, who kind of looks down upon pageants and thinks they're anti-feminist, to competing in one and then having a little fling with one of the judges. So I'm pretty far into this. I'm on like page 200 and I only started it last night at 3 a.m. It is so addicting. This book is just fraught with Harry Potter references. It's very funny, it's very witty. It does lean a little bit more toward being corny, but I think it's so quick and so easy and fun that it just has kept my attention for like reading it in one sitting almost, and this book is like 300 pages. There's a couple things that I'm finding questionable that I'll talk about when I finish the book, but I'm gonna go and read this. I'm laying on the floor because that's just where I am at the point when I finished this book. So I have a lot of good things that I liked about it and a lot of stuff that was questionable. Let's consult the journal. So the first thing I noticed about this book is that the main character was really critical of beauty pageants and just in general, like any show of femininity, she'd be like, ugh, girls who wear makeup, and she was really judgmental. This book sort of made it feel like there was the book nerds and there was the girls with makeup. Por qué no los dos? So I really didn't like that dichotomy at the very beginning because it's like, I like makeup, I like books. By the end of this, there wasn't really a change in that sort of thinking. It just wasn't at the forefront. Because she went back to like not wearing makeup ever and she was like, I will never wear fake tan again. I don't know if there was any resolution to that, but it calmed down. One thing that I immediately loved about this book though, and that kept me going, was that it was so cute and so funny and so relatable. So this book is a main character from Dallas, Texas. She's a Harry Potter nerd. She loves reading. She's a librarian. Like, she was just so relatable with the Harry Potter and the books and the Texas. I was like, yeehaw, yes ma'am. And the way that this is written really reflects this witty writing style. It wasn't like gaggingly corny, but it was pretty fun. The inner monologue was very playful. And I think that's what caused me to read this so quickly, just because it was so easy to digest. Sometimes though, this did veer toward being more generic and kind of like it was trying too hard to appeal to readers. So like the book was funny, but there would be points where it would just make jokes that you could tell were just like she was beating a dead horse, because we're like, we get it, you like Harry Potter. Trying to be like, she likes the reading, isn't she so relatable? But we really didn't need it because I liked her already. The romance in this and the pace of this book is very fast though. I mentioned previously that this was really quick to read, and I think that's a great thing, but also it rushed a lot of the action. There was insta love in it. It was very convenient. Like, I'm not mad about it. It's just not gonna be like, oh my gosh, the love story between these two people. I think the main thing I'll remember about this book is just how funny and quick it was, and not necessarily that the love story in it was anything memorable. I liked the characters, but there just really was no depth to them, especially the male character. Like, he's just kind of thrown at you with like, he wears suits, he's a billionaire, he's hot, and like those are his personality traits. And there were some really important scenes between them, but it just glosses over them, and I feel like if she would have taken the time to write those scenes. This book was very rated G, and I'm not mad about that at all, but I think it could have explored more with the characters. I was very irked by like the ethicality of a judge dating or like having a fling with one of the contestants. It seemed very out of character that a judge would do that for me, so it was kind of like I was suspending my disbelief to be able to buy into that, because that doesn't happen. Or if it does, like, yikes. That was just something that caught my attention that I was like, And then second, I think I would place a trigger warning on this for the entire book, but there was a lot of discussion, maybe not even intentionally, about disordered eating. The entire book would be like, okay, swimsuits tomorrow, don't eat any breakfast. Or like she would want to order something that was really high in calories, and her sister would be like, no, you can't have that. And like at one point in the book, after the swimsuit portion, they're like, we're gonna get together and eat burgers in our room and like relax, do you want to come over? And I was like, oh, okay, cool, finally they'll eat something in this book. And then she gets there and the burgers are like cut into fourths and everyone was like rationing what they eat. So I think this book was trying to be like, oh, pageant girls do eat, there's not any anorexia, but it just made it seem like if you're gonna be a model, you don't eat. Any discussion of eating in this book was shadowed with the fact that someone was disappointed at her for eating so much. I feel like if you have any triggers with eating or anorexia, maybe this wouldn't be a good read for you, because it talks a lot about like skipping meals and wanting to look skinny. Although I liked the discussion of beauty pageants in general and like the confidence you get from them, I think the message about eating was not great. But overall, I think I'm gonna give this book like a 4-star, 3.5 star. It was just so quick and fun. Like, I can't discount it for that. It wasn't perfect, it wasn't as in-depth of a story as I would have liked it to be, but it was just cute. Come on. So that is my first read in this video. Now, here's the thing. I really need to read Americana by Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie, but I'm scared. I've had that book on my TBR for so long, and honestly I've read the first page of it so many times just to be like, am I interested in this? And it is pretty good. But when I think about like the stack of ARCs I just received from publishers that I'm really interested in reading versus that 600-page tome that's like really intense and dark, I really would rather read romance. But I know that book is so good and I do want to read it, so I think I'm gonna do like an impromptu try a chapter thing right now and like get the book and read the first chapter and tell you my thoughts. I might end up picking it up on audiobook if I can't get through it physically, because I do really want to read it. It's just my brain is in this mode now. So let's get that. Where's it at? Here, it's on my bed. Oh, bed, I love you so much. I'm going to try a chapter. See, I feel like I'm dreading reading this book, but I don't need to be. So let's, positivity, it's gonna be so good. Okay, 22 pages, let's go. Okay, I lied, it's pretty good. I'm gonna turn off the camera and see how far I get, and we'll go from there. It's been a couple of hours. I've spent a lot of my evening reading Americana. I told myself I'd read the first chapter, see how I like it, read a little bit more, see how I like it. I'm currently on page 120. Hello, Editing Whitney just realized that I never stopped and gave a synopsis of this book, which is rude, so here we go. So this book is about two Nigerians who, because of increasing education strikes, they want to go overseas to finish their schooling in college. However, only the woman Ifemelu gets an American visa, which is both their dream country. So she goes off to America and she's having to like start from the bottom, now we're here, get a job, live there illegally past her visa, and then because it's post 9/11, sort of deal with all the different prejudice and racism that she encounters, because I mean, it's America. And then there's also the side plot of her boyfriend back in Nigeria Abenze getting a visa for England, and so there's like a small subplot of him going to England, and then it's eventually how like they both move back to Nigeria and have to rekindle that and then come to terms with what it was like living overseas versus in their home country. So let's continue. These two characters who are in love are like getting to know each other, then they go off to college together, and I'm liking that. But there's also a lot about their families and the increasing strikes that are happening, and I'm finding that I'm really enjoying chapters that are about the characters, but then whenever it talks about like money or society or just like goes off about the world building, it gets pretty dry. I think part of that is me not really enjoying like info dumps, but I'm well over 100 pages into this and very little has happened. I actually picked it up on audiobook because I was really struggling to get through the first couple chapters whenever it was setting up her family. So every now and then I'll transition between reading it physically and reading it on audiobook. So far I think I'm gonna like it. It's just I think it's gonna be one of those books where the first half is a lot slower than the second half. The first chapter is set in America after she's been there for 15 years, and I loved that chapter, and now I think we're gonna have to slowly build our way back up to that perspective. So to combat that, I was thinking I might as well, there's a couple of romance authors that I'm eager to read that might be unscribed. So I know I recently just read A Princess in Theory by Alyssa Cole. That book has a sequel called A Duke by Default. I'm gonna look that up unscribed right now and see if they have that, and they only have it on audiobook. Okay, so there's also another author that I want to try, Rebecca Witherspoon. They have on Scribd the Fit trilogy. It's about the main character Violet, who's trying to lose weight. She gets a personal trainer who is Grant, and that's kind of their dynamic. And honestly, I didn't even know that's what it was about until now, so I'm really looking forward to this. I know Rebecca is a black author, so I believe both these characters are going to be black. I will correct myself in a future clip if I'm wrong, but I need a break from Nigerian politics. I'm gonna read about a personal trainer getting it on with his trainee. Maybe this will inspire me to go to the gym. I'm kidding. Am I? I just finished all of that book. So I was wrong. This book is not about black characters. It is about an Asian protagonist, Chinese specifically, and a white guy. I don't really partake in books about BDSM because I'm someone that's like, I want them both to be super loving and just like softer stuff, you know? Somehow this book was soft BDSM. The guy in this book was so sweet, and like he had a dog. He would bring the dog to their workouts. He really eased her into everything, like workout wise and sex wise. It was so lovely. He was so great and kind. I feel like I was part of bare minimum Twitter reading this book because he would just do something as small as like wanting to see if she's all right, and I'm like my only complaint about this book is that I kind of don't understand what their agreement was, because like he was her personal trainer, but then like at the end of every session they would like do stuff, and I don't understand why. And like there's an entire series that's based on this premise of like personal trainers also being like dominators or whatever they're called. And I'm just like, is that a thing? I didn't quite understand why, which I mean, like, who's to say? And the only other thing that confused me was this book was so short. There's a lot of cuteness packed into it. I mean, I say cuteness, but like steaminess slash sweet. I don't know. It was short, but it had a lot of good stuff, but still at the end of it I was like, okay, that was really short. I wish it would have given us more time to explore other things, explore the characters more. Again, I feel like I'm reading a lot of surface level romance. The plot is great, the characters are great, but like I feel like I don't know them. Obviously, I love that we have a fat main character. I love that she's not like trying to change herself for this guy. For me, I just wanted to say that there was nothing weird about the weight loss plot of it, but I don't know, I thought it was actually really empowering for her, and by the end of the book she did say we're not focusing on weight loss, we're focusing on like just feeling better about myself. But it all just wrapped up so quickly. Like I wanted 200 more pages of these two characters together because they were so lovely together, but I really really liked it. I think I'm gonna give it like 4 stars just because I wish there was a little more. I don't know if this pinkness on my face is because I was blushing the whole book or because it's like so hot in my room and I'm wearing leggings and like thick socks. But take from that what you will. I totally forgot to mention a huge thing I liked about this book was the main character. I thought she was so relatable. Like chapter 1 is her crying in a workout class because she was so overwhelmed and was underperforming compared to everyone else, which I like started crying because I was like, yes, I get you, girl. But also just throughout the entire book, she was so assertive, and you could really tell that this is an author who's progressive and knows what's problematic and what's not, because for instance, the first time that the trainer and her meet, he's trying to test out the waters and see like, ooh, would she want to be my newest dom sub? And so he literally blatantly asks her like, hey, are you into BDSM? And she's like, so even though he's like more of the alpha, according to BDSM, she was not someone who just like let him do whatever he wanted to do. She was very strong-willed, and I loved her. So I don't know why I didn't mention that. It was the best part about the book. I was gonna read the entire series because Scribd has this whole series, but then I read the synopsis for book 2, and it was again just that whole plot of like personal trainer is also into BDSM. I loved book 1 so much because the male character, but I don't think I'm gonna continue the series because I'm bitter and I want more of him. But that's that. I finished the book. But now I need to get back to reading Americana. After reading something so fun and easy like this, I'm not super excited to pick Americana back up. But I have it on audio, so if anything, I'll just have a grand old time listening away. Here's my review of the what's this called? The Gryffindor Common Room ambiance. It's aight, but you could probably just call it fireplace noises because that's all that it is. I was gonna read a little bit more of Americana before I went to bed. I ended up finally reaching a part that I think is interesting. I'm on page 188 now. My deal is I'm getting to the point where like it's gonna take a while to read this book, and I don't not like it, but it just feels like it's gonna be a 3-star book. And I know 3 stars is enough to not DNF it, but there's part of me that's just like, I could be reading 5-star stuff right now. So maybe I just need to pick up the audiobook so that I can double task while I read this and get my mind off of the fact that every page I turn, I'm just like, okay, how much closer am I to the end? It's not a bad book, it's just like a lot. Good night. Good day, everyone. I almost said morning. It's 5 p.m. I'm all changed into a nice warm sweater. We're about to go outside and feed the cats. But all day today, I've been listening to the audiobook for Americana. So I'm currently on page 322. So like halfway through. I'm pretty bored. I got to a point where I finally was like into it, and we were following the female main character and like her coming to America, and so there was a lot of good commentary. I liked her perspective, I liked all the side characters there. Then it just changed to part 3 where we're now following the man going to England, and I'm bored all over again. I'm kind of debating DNFing it because I feel bad, and I know like in my heart I'm not gonna give it more than 3 stars, and I'm just like, is it worth finishing if like I'm not enjoying it that much? Because there's good parts of it, but those are few and far in between, and I feel like it's a lot of stuff in between. But I'm gonna give it a rest for a sec. I've been listening to the audiobook for a couple hours, so I'm gonna go outside and feed my kittens. None of you ever complain about too much cat footage, so we're gonna get some of that. Hi, Winston. Hello. Hi. Hi! Look at those kittens! What are you doing up there, ma'am? Hello, babies! Hi, Mom! Hi! What are you doing? You get over here. I love. Hi. You coming up? What are you doing? Is this what you want? What are you doing, ma'am? Ma'am. Ma'am, what are you doing? Ma'am? Okay. Reggie never comes and plays. I'm supporting this. He weighs 1,000 pounds, but look how chunky you are. They're just attacking his tail.
Almost 9. Hello.
He'll be 9 weeks old on Thursday.
Happy girl. Happy girl.
Actually, I take that back. Don't attack my hand. So much is happening. He found a hat. This one's being crazy. My cat's on top of here. I started my period earlier and these cramps are hitting me. I'm just cranky and in pain and I don't want to read a book that's like not entertaining. But I know if I pick something else up to read in the meantime, I'm gonna not want to go back to Americana. I low-key might just get my physical copy and start skimming it until I get somewhere where I recognize the characters' names and like I care about the plot. Because I'm really not here to read a 600-page book that I'm just like zoning out because I can care less. Okay, I hotly debated DNFing this book, just skimming through it right now, but I skipped like 3 chapters and then it got to a part where I think it's gonna pick back up, so I'm just gonna pretend those 3 chapters didn't exist and I'm gonna listen to my audiobook, sit in bed and groan about my lower stomach. Oh look, a heating pad. Don't mind if I do. Okay, I'm about to pass out. Got the heating pad on my tummy and I've been listening to my audiobook. We got to page 480, so only about 100 more left. Hopefully I'll finish that up tomorrow, meaning today when I wake up at 1 p.m. Good night. Good morning! Mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the most predictable of them all, wearing the same clothes as yesterday and waking up at 1 p.m. I just got up, chugged some Advil because my cramps are still really bad, and now I'm gonna settle in and finish the last, I think I have like an hour and a half or 2 hours left of my audiobook, so I'm gonna finish that right now and get it done today. It's gonna take me far less time than I thought to finish this book, so I am happy with that. I finished Americana, but I'm gonna talk about it later because after I finished it I got on my phone and checked my email and had a lovely rejection letter waiting for me for the job that I had 3 interviews for, and it was between me and one other person, and I didn't get it. So fun! I love that. I'm gonna lay in bed for a bit and talk to you later. When the dog meets the cat. Well, go tell her you want to be friends. Go tell her. Oh, he got booped. Your tail is still wagging. Get a hint, buddy. Come on, Jack. Wrong way, sir. You're nuts. Good morning, everybody. I did not vlog at all yesterday because I was in a mood. But I did, fortunately, do a ton of reading. So I have 3 books to update on. First and foremost, I finished the book that I've been working on for the past couple days, Americana. I am very disappointed with myself because every single reviewer I know has given this 5 stars and I could only generously give it 3 stars. It's not by any means a bad book. I just think for what it was trying to do, it was really dry. Y'all know I'm not opposed to character-based stories. I don't need there to be a plot as long as I care about the characters. And this was very slow. I feel like I didn't get acquainted with the characters well enough to really be invested into them. So even though we weren't having like this massive plot unfolding, there was really nothing to anchor me to the story and make me feel like I cared about them or what happened to them. And it was strange because this book is supposedly about both of those characters, but it really only focuses on the woman. So whenever we would go to the man's perspective, I would just skip it because it was like, I don't know who he was, I didn't care about his story and his background. So something about the woman's perspective was a lot more interesting than the man's, and it was just difficult to get through. I liked the message that this book had about racism in America and the Black community, talking about if you're an African American versus an African in America. I think there's really valuable discussion there, and I like how that was done through Ithemelu's blog posts. But I'm not even joking, no one was there. Hello 911. It just wasn't that interesting as far as like a 600-page book. Did that door open or am I crazy? The door opened! Bitch, what the fuck? So a 3-star rating is generous because I don't think I would have gotten through this if I didn't have it on audiobook. And then in the middle of the night last night, I was just in a funk and I wanted to pick up something but I didn't know what, and so I just decided real quick I was gonna read If My Body Could Speak by Blythe Baird. So Blythe Baird is a poet that I discovered through Button Poetry, which is the YouTube branch of slam poetry. I read her poetry collection back when it first came out and I love her. So I think I'm sort of biased reviewing this because a lot of the poems in this new collection are just things from her older one because that one went out of print and this is like her official collection. A lot of it was just a repeat of things that I've heard before, so it was kind of nostalgic and it was giving me the chills because I've heard her perform some of those before, so I could like hear her voice in my head as I was reading. I can definitely tell a difference between the 2015 Whitney that would have rated that 5 stars versus me now. So first of all, I think it has great commentary on feminism. I would put a huge trigger warning on rape and sexual assault and also eating disorders and anorexia because those are the majority of what she talks about in her poetry. I think she has a really good writing style so that it's like modern and so it's very easy to comprehend, but it's still so succinct that every line like packs a punch, which I really like. Sometimes it borders on too simplistic, like she'll offer in like a line or two that are really colloquial, and for me I'm not a fan of that because it just feels more like juvenile and it takes me out of the poem to feel like, oh, that line was kind of corny. But for the most part I think that she's offers really good discussion about different topics of feminism. But with that I will say, because now it's 4 years later since I've read these poems originally, after reading a ton of feminist books by women of color and just having a much wider array of feminist poetry under my arm, under my whatever that phrase is,
belt.
it was a little basic. And this is again why I know some people don't rate poetry books, because I know it's kind of unfair to be like, you didn't talk about your experiences deep enough, or like I don't want to quantify the quality of her work on like what she chooses to talk about and not talk about. But I think like compared to other things that I've read, this does fall in a more basic category. I think she really excels at spoken word poetry and on the page. Sometimes it's a little lackluster, but still I love her. I love her poetry. I can't wait to get this book in person and underline all my favorite lines and have it on my shelf because I love her. I want to support her. She's beautiful, etc. I gave that book 4 stars. I'm kind of just again biased because I love her as a person. I follow her on Twitter and I've always just kept up with her poetry on YouTube. So I took the leap and I started The Unhoneymooners last night and I stayed up until 7 a.m. reading it. So I'm currently on page 256. But this book is about a girl named Olive whose twin sister Amy is getting married, and so she goes to the wedding and when she's there realizes the best man is the groom's brother that she is arch nemesis with that she really dislikes. He's always just looked at her really condescending and she does not vibe with that, so they've not liked each other for the 3 years they've known each other. Then at this wedding, she and this man are the only people who don't eat the seafood buffet, which turns out to make every single person there violently sick. So there's a free honeymoon up for grabs that's non-refundable that Olive can take because she's the twin sister and can fake as her sister's identity, and that the man Ethan can take because he has the same last name as the groom. So it's about how these two people who have hated each other since they've known each other go on this vacation together in Hawaii, and it's enemies to lovers, and it's so wonderful. I don't know why I would have expected it to be anything else. Actually, I do. Christina Lauren's previous book that just came out, I can't remember what it's called. I'll put it right here. That one I wasn't a huge fan of, and I ended up reading it as an e-arc and then never even buying a finished copy because I felt it was like my least favorite book by them. I think I gave it like 2 stars. But this one, I knew immediately it could do no wrong. It's hilarious. I've already put so many tabs in here. The way that Christina Lauren writes, they just write such messy characters that just say what's on their mind. Everything they do is so candid, and it's not like this unrealistic love story, I guess. It's the perfect balance between someone that's relatable and like you feel like they're real people, but you also still want to be them and you want that for yourself. So it's like the perfect balance of like, you guys are a mess, but I want to be in on this. It's so beautifully written. I was giggling out loud reading this book. Like, something about the writing style, I'm usually not a fan of whenever authors try and be funny with the inner monologue, but the way that Christina Lauren does it gets me every time. So like, here's a line that made me giggle. They're going out to dinner, and so she says, the rational part of my brain knows he won't do it, but the lizard brain expects him to pull out the chair from underneath me. The lizard brain. I love it. So I can't stop smiling. I love this book so much. Right now there's a couple of like tiny things that I wish were better. Like, the reason why they're enemies I think is sort of weak, and you learn more about that, and like I'm getting to the turning point where they stop being enemies. I just wished, I don't know, it feels like the hating game where they hate each other at the beginning but you don't really get an explanation why. You're just supposed to be like, oh yeah, they don't like each other. And also the way that they get intimate in this book is because while they're on the island, Ethan's ex-girlfriend is also there celebrating her new engagement, and so they're constantly seeing them at the same resort, and they're like staging this fake relationship so that they can soothe Ethan's ego and like make her feel jealous of him, so that like they're doing PDA just to like show up his ex-girlfriend. And that's the only reason why they started becoming like closer. And although there's like a good discussion of her feeling offended that he's using her for his ex-girlfriend, the picky part of me is like, why couldn't that have happened naturally? But it does give, I guess, a good circumstance for them to stop hating each other and like actually be close. It's just a weird subplot that like half of the reason that they're touching each other is because he wants his ex-girlfriend to be jealous. But those are my only 2 like minor complaints so far. This is so addicting, so funny. I cannot wait. I'm gonna sit down and read the last half of this right now in one sitting, and it's gonna be so good. I don't think it's gonna be a full 5 stars unless the ending of it is like Gucci Mane, but I do think it's gonna be up with my favorites. Miss Christina and Miss Lauren really did not come out to disappoint. I don't think I've introduced y'all to our neighbors. This is a problem. These are our neighbors. They're the sweetest boys in town. Hi, boys. Hello. I love y'all so much. Hi. Hi. I don't have treats. Hi. What? Sir? Sir. Not a snack. You're so crazy. Girl, your nose is so crusty. What is that? Miss Ellie Mae. Hi. Rosie, come here. You diva. There's more over there too. She said I didn't like it. What's the handsome boy doing? Hi, handsome. I got a package today because I made an online order to Old Navy, and a couple weeks ago I ordered clothes from Amazon and did like a try-on thing on Twitter. I got a couple requests to do that on YouTube. How about a little impromptu try-on haul, if you will? Basically, okay, listen, I know I look homeless in all these layers, but I haven't left my house in 2 weeks. I don't own jeans. I bought jeans and a dress that was only $15. So I decided I might give Old Navy jeans a try, because for my entire life I've been living wearing like regular jeans, and these come in tall, which I am. Wait, okay, hold up. I mean, the lighting in here is garbage, but look, who is she? Look at these ankles, they're covered. When does that happen? This look is okay, but are y'all ready? Oh snap. Who is she? Okay, I dig this. Now let's try this dress. Ooh, it's very soft. Okay, here's this dress. I can't really see myself very well in the viewfinder, but I mean, it's a dress. I'm not sure if these are supposed to be bell sleeves or if they're just really loose, but I'm gonna go look at myself in a mirror because I can't tell if I like this from the viewfinder. Oh! Oh, this looks so cute! Okay, this is a look. Maybe it needs a belt. Oh, it's cute! For 15 bucks, I will take it. But I got a little bit of reading done while I was outside, and I'm on page 298 now. So only like 100 pages left. It's strange because now at this point in the book, they're back from the honeymoon. So I guess the last portion of this book is like figuring out where do we go from here? Are we still enemies? How do we tell people that we're together? Plus like family drama came out. Hi, Miss Mal. You're in my room. Why are you looking at me like I'm intruding? This is my space. My space. What are you doing? She's like, if I don't move, I will look like a statue and she won't notice me. Okay, bye. Ugh, it was so good. I just finished this book. I'm in my feels. I don't even have my review notes down here with me because I literally finished it, tried not to cry, came and sat on the ground to film this. I will say this does not top Josh and Hazel, and this does not top Sweet Filthy Boy, but it's up there. It's really good. It was just a grand old time. But I do have like a couple minor issues I had with it that I want to talk about. I guess first, this isn't really an issue, but it's just like commentary. There's only one sex scene in this book and it's skipped over. For me, a slut, I was disappointed. But if you're someone that wants light romance and your romance novels, have at it. It's gonna be for you. The last 100 pages of this book basically just talks about like family drama. It was infuriating to read. Like, it was purposeful. I was just so uncomfortable reading the last 100 pages of this book, but it's just not what I was expecting. I think it's gonna end up being a 4.5 star book. I wish we'd gotten more time in Hawaii because only like 200 or 250 pages are in Hawaii. So at this point, all my criticism is just like things I wish would have happened, which is basically like how to make this go from a great book to a perfect book. So we really didn't need that. So rather than sitting there on my phone in bed, I'm gonna pick up a new book and just keep it rolling. We gotta get as much out of the way as we can before Shadow Me comes out, because I'm probably gonna be struck immobile after that book. I'm not gonna want to do or read anything. So I want to pick up 99% Mine by Sally Thorne, which I've been sent by the publisher. So thank you, William Morrow Paperbacks. I will update you later what this is about because I have no idea. So I'm just gonna dive into it literally completely blindly. We'll see. My AirPods just died. It's been really fun working with you. Okay, I'm only 37 pages into the book and I told myself I wouldn't update until I'm further. But this book's writing style, it's like it's not even the same author. It's so difficult to comprehend. Like, she's introducing people and like like all this stuff, and she's not explaining anything, and none of the dialogue makes sense. Like, you know how in normal books if someone says something like random in dialogue, it'll explain it in the speaker tags or like right afterward. This one will just like give you random dialogue with no context and then just move on. She is with her childhood best friend right now, and this is a conversation that they have with no context. So he came and visited her. I don't know if it's out of the blue, I don't know if he sees her all the time, like I don't get it. He's wearing a t-shirt that she gave him for Christmas, and she says, "So good t-shirts can die and go to heaven." And then he says, "You're still a teenage dirtbag." And she says, "And you're still a hot grandpa." What? What is that dialogue? And I feel like that's just been my entire experience reading these 40 pages. I'm just like, what are you talking about? I feel like I'm missing a book in this series, or like there's a glossary or something for everything they're talking about. I'm so confused. And like he came over to her house and she met him there after work, but they're just like sitting on her porch talking. It's like, don't you want to go inside? Like, it feels like an alien wrote this about what they think humans do and how humans talk, but it's just not translating. I'm like, what is going on? And like her childhood best friend has a girlfriend, and like she's kind of jealous of the girlfriend. I'm like, give me the tea. Like, what's the history between you two? There's just no explanation of anything. This is so wild. I've never read a book that's so scattered and doesn't explain anything. But I accidentally flipped to the middle of the book earlier and I saw the word dick, so I'm just really excited to get some porn. I'm gonna keep reading. So I kind of caved and read the synopsis just so I could be like, what is happening? And I think you have to treat the synopsis right here as a prologue, because this explained everything I was wondering. Which is weird that it would tell you about it in the synopsis, but not in the actual book. Like, I'm 50 pages in and I didn't know what they were trying to do. Here's what the synopsis said. Darcy has had a crush on Tom since she was 8, but Darcy's twin brother Jamie claimed Tom as his best friend, and so he was always off limits to her because best friend code. As adults, he was engaged to another woman, and so basically she's just harbored this thing that like he's beautiful and amazing, but he's off limits. But after Jamie and Darcy's grandmother passes away and they need to renovate her house, like it said in her will, Darcy was planning on leaving, so I think she's living in her grandma's house right now, and she's gonna leave as soon as they start the renovations. But since Tom is the one who just started his own business in renovations, what's it called? Landscaping? Inside houses? I don't know. Architecture. She doesn't really want to leave anymore because he's single for the first time in like a decade, and he's not off limits anymore because her and her twin aren't talking anymore. So she's like, you know what? I think I might try and slide in the DMs while he's here. So that's where we are. I'm shocked that I had to like read the synopsis to get that, and I couldn't just dive into the book blindly. That's just so weird. Why would you not even put an exposition in your book to tell me what the circumstances are that led up to where we are? And you just have this nonsensical dialogue? Okay, I'll stop complaining. Editors, where are you? Where's the editor? Hi, I'm only on page 65, but I just realized another way I can describe this. It's like reading poetry in the worst way. You know when you read poetry that doesn't make sense and it's just like words, 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 and then like one sentence will make sense and you're like, oh, that was kind of pretty. But then the rest of the poem is just like words, 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 words. That's what this is like. And honestly, I'm freaking myself out because I keep misreading words. And I'm just like, is this book not make sense? Or like, can I not read right now because I'm tired? But this never happens to me. Like, I never misread this many words and like scramble up sentences and have to reread sentences. So I don't know if it's just me and like I need to go to bed. It's only 2:30. I usually go to bed at like 6 a.m. I'm not tired. Just this book is messing with my head. Its writing style is so absurd. I just noticed something about this. There are no speaker tags. Like every single line of dialogue, there's no he said, I said. It's just the dialogue and then like the action that they're doing afterward. And there's no transitions anywhere, and that's why it's so choppy and jarring. I keep waiting for this to get better, but it's still just like, even though I know what's happening now, the way that the dialogue and their actions are put together make no sense. But here's the thing, like, I'm marking quotes that I like in it, and you can tell there's some sticky tabs because every now and then, like I said, there's a little spark of something good. And honestly, half the reason that I'm sticking with this is because the boy, the love interest, is a soft boy. Like, he's very, very sweet. I know I said this before, but I cannot believe this is the same author. It is a 180. This book is so badly written. I'm just past page 100, a third of the way through. I'm calling it quits for the night because I seriously think I'm developing dyslexia reading this. Like, it's so incomprehensible. But like I said, there's moments of it that are actually understandable and cute. One of the parts it was just talking about is she got out of the house to escape Tom. For several hours she just ate hot fudge sundaes at McDonald's until she thought he was asleep so she could finally go home. And then she says, "I'm a Mick coward," which is funny. But I just wish it wasn't bookmarked by so much weird dialogue and other like nonsensical action. One thing that I'm upset about is I'm 100 pages into a 300-page book, and in the synopsis it says Tom is single for the first time in almost a decade. And yet, a third of the way into this book, literally she's made like 5 jokes being like, haha, what would Megan think about this? And he's just like, and doesn't say anything. I'm like, dude, tell her. I do not understand this book whatsoever. I'm gonna go to bed and wake up tomorrow and try and read this again and see if I'm just in a funk right now, but like, what is happening? It's so bad. Like, even if this ends up being a pretty cute romance, I still might rate the book 1 star just because this is literally the worst reading experience I've ever had. Okay, I lied. Now I'm going to bed. I just kept going, waiting for it to get to a part where we had a breakthrough. I made it to page 167. It's getting more and more regular now. I feel like within like the past 50 pages, it's been a lot easier to read. I'm just still so astounded by how this book got to the publisher. I think the only parts of this book I'm enjoying are her inner monologue about liking him, but everything else around that is kind of creepy and really disturbing. She has insinuated multiple times that she wants to kill Tom's ex-girlfriend. She's just very intense, and I don't mind a character who's like, she's a bitch. She's just like, doesn't take any bullshit. Her actions concern me, and the way that she talks concerns me. It's just wild. I'm like still trying to piece together what this book is doing. My goal is to finish this tomorrow and just read a book a day. So shout out to everyone who said this book sucked. You were right. I can only see myself giving this 2 stars at the most. Here's what the kittens are like at dinner time. You coming up? You coming up? Yeah? You want some dinner? Yum yums! There's one right here. Hey. I'm gonna rant about this while we're here, while I remember everything I want to talk about. First of all, this book has some type of 2008 predatory, overly dominant protectiveness in it. Like, is it not 2019? The characters keep saying like, I'm gonna kill anyone else that touches you. It's gross. I'm not here for it. The main character has no personality other than the jokes that the author writes, which isn't a personality, it's just a writing style. The dialogue is still very bad. Literally, they're trying to do it in the middle of like this construction site and she says, in. What? And lastly, so the whole relationship in this book is basically she's been obsessed with this guy for forever. I don't know why he doesn't want her back, but literally at the beginning of the book, she's like, you're perfect, I want to be with you so bad, let's do it. And he's like, no. Then 200 pages later, she's like, I like you. And he's like, I'm not good enough for you. And she's like, yeah, you are. And so he's like, oh, okay. And that's it. I'm like, what? This book makes me feel like I'm on crack. It's so bad. I have 60 pages left. I'm rioting. I don't want to keep reading this, but I feel like I need to get to the end because I'm already this far in. The love interest deserves a better book because he's very sweet. And I will say, I like a couple parts of this book, but not nearly enough for it to be like more than a 1-star book. We had an emergency tonight in the barn. One of the horses decided they'd try and kick through the fence. Ended up getting stuck. It was a team effort to take our horse out of our fence. The horse is okay. It just really threw me off my reading game because I was finally settling down to finish this. That's just the universe telling me this book does not deserve my time. As a great philosopher once said, curiouser and curiouser, this book just keeps getting worse. Her brother just found out they slept together and her first words are, I'm keeping him. What human adult says that? The more I read, the more I'm astounded. 30 pages left. Let's just get through it. Okay, it's over. Ding dong, the witch is dead. I literally just read like one line of dialogue on each page for the last 20 pages because I didn't care. My biggest gripe about this book is that it doesn't make sense. There is no context to anything. It doesn't explain anything. And even within the writing itself, there's no links between information. So she'll say something in dialogue that has nothing to do with what she's doing in her actions. And then the next time the other person speaks, those two pieces of dialogue have nothing to do with each other. It's literally incomprehensible. There's just, again, no context for anything. Like, there'll be some scenes where we'll be there for like 10 pages having a conversation. Then she's like, I dipped my fish stick in ketchup or like whatever. And you're like, she had fish sticks? Things come out of nowhere because everything is so underexplained. It's wild. It's wild. I've never read a book like this before and it was miserable. Also, big complaint that I had, none of the characters had personalities. None of them were developed. I could see the bones of what she was trying to do. Like, the plot itself isn't bad. Like, the idea of this grandmother died, they're restoring her house, she's been in love with the guy, it's his brother's best friend, he's off limits. I get that. Great foundation of a story. This book honestly feels like you're watching a movie, but the person in front of you is tall so you can only see the corners of the screen, and both people on either sides of you are opening their snacks the entire movie so you can't hear anything. You're getting bits and pieces of stuff, but none of it is cohesive at all. The characters' actions don't make sense. The entire book they were pining over this relationship and you know that they're both into each other but they don't do anything and it's like, what? The main character puts on this front like, oh, I'm so badass, I'm so tough, I don't need men, but she's terrified of guys. She's constantly acting like a baby and talking like a baby. She can't even go to the doctor's office alone. Like, she has a heart condition that makes her like almost pass out all the time and she refuses to go get her medication updated because she wants her brother to go with her. There's a way that you can spin that and make that cute, but the way it was done just made it sound pathetic and like this main character was so annoying. Oh my gosh, this book was a flop. I even read in the back there's bonus content and there's an interview with her that says like behind the book and she said she was so nervous because she had second book syndrome. Yeah, you do. It is a terrible book. I know everyone was saying if I get this book at least read, they have an epilogue for The Hating Game. I couldn't even finish that because the thing is, after reading this, I'm like, how did this author write The Hating Game? Like, it's sort of changing my perspective of her because I'm like, this was so bad. Like, obviously The Hating Game is still great, but now I hesitate recommending this author to people. She took herself off my auto-buy author list so fast with this book. This was just a hot hot mess. Very little to redeem it. The only thing that redeems this is that I see what it was trying to do. When a book convinces you that you might have dyslexia, I seriously was having anxiety last night thinking like something was wrong with my brain reading this. Like my hypochondriac self thought I was like having a mini stroke and I just wasn't reading this right. That's how incomprehensible this writing is. So next I'm gonna start some arcs that I have of books that are coming out in May, April. So I'm gonna start off with Meet Cute by Helena Hunting, which comes out on April something 9th, 2019. I hope this one's gonna be good. Really, there's nowhere to go but up from where I just left off. This is what I'll probably be starting this weekend. Hopefully I'll be having a 24-hour reading vlog up over like Sunday, Monday sometime. Bye friends!